This is Oscar Bevis for the Stomping Ground, powered by Wow Hydrate and available on DAZN. I can't help but jump into Zooms with people who are making everyone jealous. Charlie Edwards was in Villamora. Adam Smith was in Cape Cod. Gareth Davies is in Sicily. You're killing the viewers out here.
Yeah, sorry about all the motion. It's all the people enjoying themselves here on one of these central streets in Palermo. Great to visit the land of my mother and her family. Just nipped away for a couple of days. Back tomorrow. Back to a bit of bare knuckle in Cardiff, believe it or not. But yeah, back late tomorrow night. Nice to go away. I mean, it's nice to go away to LA. It's nice to go away to all the fight venues, but to be able to walk around and when you think that this is a place that was really kind of taken over by loads of warrior empires, the Romans, the Byzantines, the Ottomans, the Arabs, I mean, it goes on and on and on. I mean, the Punic Wars, without boring you in historical warrior detail, you know what I'm like. Um, this place was seminal in the Punic Wars as well. I mean, it goes all the way back to the times of the Carthaginians and all the warrior nations have been in it. And it's all, the architecture and the culture is just extraordinary, and it's a melting pot for loads of cultures. Lovely to be here, mate. Had a bit of beach time, city tour today, and it's great to be on with you, making, like you say, making you jealous.
Well, clearly work never stops, right?
Well, I mean, listen, I've had to record. Adiola Depot was in Marseille on Monday, and then Tuesday morning we recorded Fight Night Extra. Cheeky Charlie Parsons made me do this with you. You've been hassling me for 3 days, so I couldn't really say no. And I'm just sitting in a lovely little coffee bar in the central square. It's a little chat for you for 10 or 50 minutes. We're mates, so no problem at all.
Charlie Parsons hassling you. That doesn't sound like him whatsoever.
Uh, Mate, General GAD, can you do a bit of time on the Zoom? Go on, Oscars. I'm away on a private jet somewhere, this, that, and the other, trying to build my aura. Can you do something with Oscar?
Oh, I love it. Right. You are on holiday, so we are going to crack straight on as you sip a little bit of limoncello, I reckon. The Olympics, I want to start with that. So, aside from the boxing, quick one, is there anything that kind of tickled your fancy that gave you a little bit of interest, or was it straight boxing for you in the games, Gareth?
Well, the wall climbing was just extraordinary. The Australian break dancer, well, how the hell did she get in the Olympics? That was fun, but good on her. Listen, faster, stronger, higher, all those kind of things. It was amazing. The big thing that stuck out for me at the games, and I'm going to go into the boxing, was the Taiwanese and the Algerian boxers in the women's event, which I think needs further investigation, and I think needs very open testing and tests put out there. And if they don't have XY chromosomes and they're just XX chromosomes, then we move on and they move on. And I think Eddie Hearn was saying that Khalif is someone who's very marketable now. He's saying that a couple of days ago and he would not look at it. But let's get tests with veracity, because at the moment, the Olympic Games, the IOC let them into the games based on a piece of paper, i.e., F for female in their passport. They suppressed testosterone testing 9 years ago, and the two women in question didn't pass the regulations for them. You'll know this, for the World Amateur Boxing Championships 2 years ago. So you have to question why they were in the Olympics. And I think we just need a tighter testing procedure, because it would be heinous if we're letting, because it's a sex issue, not a gender issue. It's a sex issue. There's loads of genders. There are only two sexes, male and female, and it's based on your biology, on your chromosomes. And I think most people in the boxing world would agree with me that we need to make sure they're both XX and not XY.
Yeah, well, let's say Imane, like you said, Eddie said she's very marketable. She's sitting on 1.8 million Instagram followers. So I think that says a lot in itself in comparison to the other medalists. Say she is to turn professional. Of course, the IOC were no longer in charge of her destiny. How does that get dealt with so we're at a fair outcome?
Well, I think there's a statement came out. I mean, there's a legal threat to anyone who's being inhumane. They said about her. For me, what she has to do is do an open test that proves that her chromosomes are XX, not XY. Because if she does have XY, she fits into that biological DSD category where visually she's a female, even genitalia, all those things. But chromosomatically, biologically, she's male, and some people do in life, whether you call it unfortunate or not, I don't know. But it's there, it's an issue, and I think what you need is a very lucid, transparent test that's out there in public that proves that she is chromosomatically female, Oscar, and then she can proceed with a pro career. And she's around that division that can face a Chantel Cameron, a Clarissa Shields, even at a push. Very marketable, very, very marketable indeed. Like you say, pushing on for 2 million Instagram followers. It's been a very painful process for her for two and a half weeks. But it may have made her name. And if she can prove that, and I think she will have to prove that, got a great career ahead of her in the pros.
Yeah, well, let's see where things go from here. I'm sure every promoter's got their eye on where she is to go. In terms of the Olympics 2028, I know it's a decision that can be revisited in 2025, but just say boxing isn't to be in Los Angeles for the first time in over a century. What sort of damage do you think we're going to feel from that?
Yeah, it's a very important part of the kind of overall structure of boxing. So many great names have come with an amateur pedigree, success in the Olympics, springboard, if you like. In some ways, getting an Olympic medal for boxing is more important than it is getting a world championship medal because, so many eyeballs, the greatest sporting show on earth, so many eyeballs on it, as we're seeing with Imam Khalifi at the moment. And Jalalov, which I'll go on to in a second. It'd be a real shame if boxing's lost from the Olympics. If you go back to what are the original Olympian values, faster, stronger, higher, all those things, quicker, faster, quicker, that throwing, running, wrestling, boxing, they are all primeval sports. They're part of survival. They're part of ancient, pancration. Wrestling and boxing is part of the ancient game. So I think in many ways, you'd be losing one of the tenets of what Olympic sport is all about. I think they will rescue it in some way, but I think the IOC, obviously, they fell out with AIBA, they've fallen out with EBA, they've run the last two games themselves. The judging wasn't very good at these games, I don't think, and they need to find a solution. I think it'd be a real travesty if it was lost. You look at some of the big names just going back recently, the Anthony Joshua's, the Audley Harrisons going back and back and back, certainly for us. And then you go back further and you look at Sugar Ray Leonard, Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier, George Foreman, Yalalov, who's obviously at his second games and won a gold. And just to cap off that, my answer is, how can a guy who's 14-0 in the pros with 14 knockouts go in and win gold again and it be celebrated and he gets a huge $200,000 prize, a car, a flat from the Uzbek government? I mean, it's great for them, but I was watching it, and I think, I was in Talk Sports Studio presenting last Saturday night. It was last Saturday night. There was a part of me that was thinking, not sure about this. I'm not sure if you had 14 pro fights, you should get the Olympics.
Just a little reset so you can go and fill up your coffee, cappuccino.
No, I've had a coffee. I've had it. If they come out, I'll order. But I had to move into the shade because my camera on my phone got so hot that it couldn't bear the heat. It's only 10 o'clock in the morning, 11 o'clock in the morning here. It's about 34 degrees. Gorgeous.
Oh, cheers, mate. I really needed that.
It looks nice there, though, as well. Looks nice there.
That's just my mum's front room. So there we go.
Okay.
We were talking about the Olympics, and I guess if we're still talking about the future of boxing, something I wanted to cover, our great competitor of the last few years has been the UFC. September the 14th, Canelo Alvarez goes against the UFC in Las Vegas. Is that quite an interesting moment for boxing?
Yeah, I don't know about going against the UFC, but thank God it's not Terence Crawford, because then we would have serious competition. But No, I think they're two different sports, two different audiences. Canelo's enormous with the Mexican American audience. 30 million people will always watch him fight in Mexico. So no, I don't. I mean, it's an unusual thing to happen, and given the fact that we've had these very public rows between Canelo and His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh in the last couple of weeks, that's been interesting. And the Saudi Arabians Riyadh season is sponsoring that UFC event and the Noche event. I'm looking to go over that week, actually. I think it's going to be fascinating for all of us that cover boxing and MMA. But no, they'll sell out the T-Mobile Arena with the Puerto Ricans for Berlanga and with the Mexicans for Canelo Alvarez. So I don't think so, Oscar. I think it'll be absolutely fine.
Yeah, well, you mentioned Riyadh season sponsoring the UFC event. We've had the Canelo and His Excellency back and forth. Just on Canelo and Oscar De La Hoya, right? A little bit of a sad state of affairs when you've worked with someone for so long in your career and it ends with Oscar calling him an arrogant piece of shit. Canelo says he wishes the golden boy period of his career would have been PBC. Bit of a sad state of affairs between two greats.
Divorces can get very messy. You don't know that yet, you know?
Yeah.
Have you been divorced yet?
No, but have faith in my current lady.
No, but no, I'm not. I'm not. I'm a beautiful woman as she is, and no. What I mean is, if you've experienced divorce, it can be a very messy affair, and especially in boxing. I use the word divorced in terms of a similar scenario where things can turn bitter between people. Obviously, Oscar De La Hoya, even though Canelo claims that he used his name, created an amazing $365 million deal with DAZN for him. I'm a big fan of both men. They're both very outspoken. They're airing their grievances in public, and that's what happens now. And it just generates more interest and more views. Even with Canelo and Turki Al-Sheikh, I think the fact they're doing business in public at the moment. You've asked for too much. You're avoiding big people. You're avoiding big names. You know, my understanding is that the Saudi Arabians will try and make Canelo against David Benavidez at some point. That's an enormous fight. But if Canelo doesn't do it, that's his choice. His legacy will have faltered in some way. We all know he lost the first fight to Golovkin. I think, you know, apart from that, he's had a stellar career on, 4 or 5 weight divisions. The problem for Canelo is that he's already achieved so much and he's cherry picking now, which is what all the great names and all the big names do at the end of their careers. Floyd Mayweather did it. Fight 49 Andre Berto, and fight 50 Conor McGregor. I mean, I was there at both of them. I was there at most of Mayweather's last 20 odd fights. So that's what happens. It's just the nature of boxing. Because Canelo was the most active, most perspicacious and meticulous boxer in terms of picking opponents at one point. During COVID, he was fighting 4 times a year, wasn't he? So, yeah, we're not going to get everything we want at this time, even though it seems like we're pretty much almost going to get everything in terms of our fantasy fights.
Yeah, well, the involvement of Riyadh seasons removed a lot of the clashes. Frank Warren versus Eddie Hearn seems to no longer exist, at least in front of the camera. Is it quite, I don't want to use the word nice, but is it quite interesting that there's been the public negotiation? Because it seems as if His Excellency has had everything go his way so far. When you throw big money at big fighters, fights will be made. Is it nice that he's got a little bit of a challenge in front of him? Gives us a narrative.
Business. The way he does business, look, the dark clouds of all the haters and the doubters were there a year ago, and look how few there are now. I mean, they really are creating a paradigm shift in the sport. I think it's an amazing period for boxing, and I say to all young people like yourself who are involved like me, just make the most of this time, because we've had really lean times in boxing where we've only had 2 or 3 massive fights a year. Now we're getting 20, 30. Some of them 3 or 4 on the same card. So make the most of it. Try and be positive about these things and not critical of them. That for me is the key thing.
Yeah, well, when we've just come back from that brilliant Riyadh season card in LA, I can't echo what you said even more. Just a couple more things
There
because
were
you're
still
right.
people complaining about it, Oscar. The media were complaining. The staging of the event had to go up to the media room. Don't make it about you. It's about the fighters and what they're earning out of it. The media needs to learn that. It's not about us. It's not about us. It's about what the fans get. It's about what. I thought there were a lot of criticism of that event, which was unnecessary, and it was just self-serving. If I'm honest about it, and obviously most people will know that I'm a fan of what His Excellency is doing, a fan of what Saudi Arabia is doing, because look what we've already lost Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua from this era. If Tyson Fury loses the second time to Oleksandr Usyk, we've probably lost that fight, unless Tyson Fury can be tempted back to face Anthony Joshua, even if he loses to Usyk. But look what the Saudi Arabians have made possible and make happen.
I agree. And when you mention the fans, I'm not sure there's a fan who would have walked away from the BMO Stadium unhappy
No, no.
after
Look,
what we saw
it
in
was a long period when they drew the lot for who won the car and what the other prizes were. Then there's the Eminem concert, the presentation, which was probably unnecessary for the Nevada Hall of Fame. I mean, Turkey hasn't done an event there yet. So, I mean, I don't know what that was all about, but I can understand they're just trying to create relationships. But as soon as Eminem came on stage, that arena, 25,000 cameras are pointed at that stage with Eminem. Didn't keep it too long. Do, 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 do. Were we all bopping along? It was fucking amazing. It was fucking amazing. So,
I was
people
bopping
can knock it.
along. I was bopping along with Vince Vaughn, so I was living the
There
dream.
you go. There you go. Vince Vaughn. You could have been bopping along with me. I won't tell you I was bopping along with, but it was definitely a bop along moment.
Um, you're on holiday, so I don't want to keep you for too long, but I want to
No,
mention
you're not going to. You've got one more question because I'm going into the sunlight.
Charlotte Daly, Mail Sport. She done a little interview, I say little, about 25 minutes with Oleksandr Usyk. There was one funny clip where he mentioned about his mum wanting him to retire, and his mum has said that she wants him to retire after every fight. I just want to know if he is to beat Tyson Fury again. He mentioned that he would be open to an Anthony Joshua trilogy fight. Is that something you're open to seeing again if he's to win and Joshua's to beat Dubois? And if not, what else is there that you want to see from Usyk in the remainder of his career?
Well, he doesn't need to do anything more. He needs to beat Fury a second time, and he remains the number one of this era because he's beaten. Well, I mean, it's a shame he didn't fight Deontay Wilder in his pomp as well. But for me,
Is there not one
he's
thing
probably
that sits at the front of your mind? Just one that you're like, this is one I want to see. Be it
no. He's got to have two more fights. He's done. Two more fights. He's done. Um, I don't want to see him go in and have to navigate his way around Martin Bakoli now. And he can beat Fury a second time, and he has a trilogy fight with Joshua. He's done it all, in my view. I don't know. I don't. Because he's 36, 37. He had so many amateur fights. He's not getting any younger. He's not a natural heavyweight. He's in against the super heavyweights. So, same as Fury, two more fights. Joshua might have four or five. He's got that in him. But no, I think two more fights for both Fury and Usyk is way enough.